So tonight, everyone, Bill, Bill has a long history of helping to educate people about what is going on in the legislature in Salem and how to access that information, how to contact and communicate with legislators in Salem, and just basically how to navigate that whole marble nut house down there, for lack of a better word. He's put out quite a few videos and spent a lot of time talking to people, and he's going to talk to us tonight about just those things, how to use the Oregon Legislative Information System, probably going to cover Orestar, and we're going to talk about communicating with legislators. So I'd like to welcome everybody back to the Bill Post Show, and take it away, Bill.
Thank you, David. Yeah, it's feels a little bit like that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen here in a little bit to show you some websites, and I'll move around on those. And of course, again, as Cindy said, this is being recorded. So if you missed, like, gosh, I missed that link or that URL or whatever, go back and rewatch it. But I'll try to go at a moderate pace when I go through some of these websites. First of all, let's talk a little bit about contacting legislators. I'm going to tell you my experience as a legislator and my experience as a person who was outside the building when I was doing my talk show and I would contact legislators. There are two parties. It's, there's no way around it. There's Republicans and Democrats. I know there's a couple of independents now in one of the caucuses, or in one of the buildings. But for the most part, it's Republicans and Democrats. And for the most parts, we have, issues that are important to Republicans and issues that are important to Democrats. So one thing, keep in mind, I was talking a little earlier to some of the group about this. I'm going to just use an example that's easy for me to use, because I'm extremely pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment. That's top of my list, probably next to life. And if the people that are with a group called Moms Demand Action, which is a group paid for by Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg, that literally want to take away your guns. If I get calls and emails from them, I'm going to be honest with you, I never answered them, because generally they were pretty belligerent and they knew where I stood. They used to stand outside my office door and just, so I felt like it was a waste of my time and theirs to communicate with them. So if you put yourself in that situation a little bit, but reverse it, and let's say you're trying to talk to a Democrat who's pretty staunchly anti-gun, and you're trying to tell them how great guns are, you might get treated the same way. So I just wanted to say that right off the bat. There's a little bit of that in that if it's something that they're just not really going to be, you're not going to sway them. You're not going to sway them on guns, like basic things like guns and abortion and healthcare, the real basic stuff that's pretty black and white. It's going to be tough. Otherwise, the best way to communicate, I think, is the old-fashioned letter. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go share my screen right now and take you to the first site that I think that we should look for. I don't know if you can see this up here, so I'll tell you what it is. It's OregonLegislature.gov. That should be your starting point for almost everything we're going to talk about tonight. Because here, as you can see, you have Senate, all senators, senators by district, Democrats, Independents, Republicans. House, same thing, district, Democrat, Republican. So here's how you find them first. So let's find somebody that I can pick on, that I know well enough that I can pick on. Let's pick on Shelley Bossart Davis, Representative Shelley Bossart Davis. So when I went to Republicans, here's the Republican list. Here's Shelley's. Here's her phone number in her office. Now I'm going to tell you again, I'm going to be honest. We have staff that answer the phones, and they're good at taking messages. You're never going to get the rep. They don't answer the phone. The way the offices are set up, in the front is your staffer, and then we're behind closed doors in another room, and it doesn't ring back there. Now, in my case, Abby, who worked for me, could make it go through to me, but I never paid attention. So generally, she'd open the door. Do you want to talk to David Darnell? And I'd say, oh yeah, put him on. But for the most part, they're not going to talk to you by phone. That's why I don't think phone's the best way. Here's their email address. That's the second best way, but the first best way is right here, that address. Writing blast mails or emails where you go and you copy each one of these email addresses and you do one big old email. You should vote no on House Bill 1001 because I think it's terrible and blah, 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 blah. If you copy and paste and send it to all those people at one time, I can almost guarantee you, you're never going to get an answer because they go into the email system to state, and they don't go into a spam filter, but they go into this weird box in your inbox that you don't always see. And some members, their staff is a little more aggressive about handling emails and some aren't. Because I'm obsessive compulsive, I saw every email that I got and I answered every email that I got. It used to drive my staff crazy. They finally weaned me off in my last year and said, can we do our job and answer your emails, and we'll give you the emails we want you to answer. That's because we get thousands of emails every day. But the key here is, trying not to be too repetitive, send a letter that's written intelligently, passionately, however you want to put that, but send it to that address right there. If you must send an email, which I think is 1A, a letter is 1, an email is 1A, because we're in an electronic society. Send it one at a time. Now you can cut and paste your email, but make sure you change it to Dear Representative Bossart Davis. But send them individually. Take the time. They'll generally, I can't say always, but generally will respond to those emails. All right, so let me back up a little bit here and go back to, again, you're at OregonLegislature.gov. Here's your senators. Here's your state representatives. Okay, so let me pause for a minute and I'll click on the chat and see, does anybody have questions? Or Cindy, how do you want to handle the questions? Or David?
Well, I have one question. I noticed at the bottom of both the Senate and the House is a link where you can find your representative. I'm thinking that probably most people here probably know who their representative is, but most people here also know 100 people who haven't the slightest idea who their representative is. So how does that work?
Let's click on that real quick. Thank you. Find who that was something I was thinking about. I usually Google, so I didn't even know that link was there. So find who represents you. I've seen this before. It's really easy. You right here type in your address. What's your address, David? Do you care?
2986 B Street, Hubbard.
2986 B.
Yep.
Okay, so let's find out. Boom, there it zooms in. It tells us that his senator is Fred Gerard, his state representative is Rick Lewis, and his congressional representative is Kurt Schrader. Now, obviously, it doesn't show U.S. senator because everybody in Oregon has the same U.S. senators, Merkley and Wyden. But depending on where you live, you have one of the currently five congresspersons. So that's very helpful.
I'd also probably note, even for everyone who's here, and I'm going to have to do it myself, I believe I'm now in CD6 and no longer CD5, but with redistricting, the lines have been moved, and so you may not have the same representative or senator that you had last year.
And let me go back to the main page again. Right here on the front page of OregonLegislature.gov is the details on newly drawn district lines. So this is where you would find that out. Let's just try it out real quick because I haven't messed a whole lot with these. But here's the new House districts, here's the new Senate districts, here's the new congressional districts. These maps, from what I've seen of them so far, are clunky as all get out. They don't literally show B Street and Hubbard. They just show a line around the area. I can't promise you anything, but I'm told that sometime in January, before the session starts, there's supposed to be more precise maps out. So that's a good point. Okay, then let's go on to
Bill?
Oh, yes.
This is Sunny, and we have a couple of questions. Nancy has asked, is that true for letters to committees too, where I'd need to email each person individually?
That's a good one. Committees is a whole nother thing. So especially because, again, the short session in 2022 is, from what I understand, going to be virtual. The committees are going to meet virtually. The House and the Senate will meet on their floors for their votes, but the committees are meeting virtually. Yeah, if you want to write, boy, let me think about that for a second. For me, what worked, again, see, I'm kind of weird because I answer every email, but the committee, well, you know what, let's just go there. Let's jump ahead to OLIS real quick because yeah, I can answer that question better. We'll come back to this, but
Okay.
OLIS is where you go, okay? And committees, let's just pick a committee. First, we have to find a session, which we'll go over this again, slower. But let's just pick the 2021 regular session, find a committee. Let's go, because I was in the House and I was on Ag and Natural Resources. There's the committee members. And if you click on these, it'll give you their emails. And yes, I would email each of them individually. Absolutely. I would not ever bulk. I never bulk email. It irritates people and they don't answer them. Does that help?
Okay, I think that does. And then we have another question from Vicky Shower is, can a BCC list avoid the mass email?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not savvy enough. David, maybe you know?
I can almost guarantee you that the email system, well, I guess I can't guarantee you because it's the state of Oregon and they have horrible IT, but anybody who would be prone to receiving bulk or mass emails, all of the same copy, would probably have a filter that would read the text and go, okay, it's one of those, and put them in one of those boxes. That's my guess.
I think you're right. I don't know if I've received BCC emails or not. They just come to me, or they did come to me. So I don't know. Any other questions?
No, that was it for now. Thank you.
Okay. And again, just jump in and stop me, Cindy, whoever's monitoring that. Okay, so I've gone back, as you can see, to the main OregonLegislature.gov page, because this is really the starting point for everything. We've already gone over how to contact people, and you do see up here, you know, at the top, bills and laws, committees, get involved, capital offices. Those are all very valuable. So this website is kind of the catch-all for everything. But what I want to do is explain, as I did in my YouTube video a few years ago, how to use OLIS, the Oregon Legislative Information System. This is probably the most valuable tool that you, the voter, and the activists in Oregon could possibly have. And it's brought to you by your state of Oregon, believe it or not. So you click on OLIS. And there it is, Oregon Legislature Information System. Now, generally it defaults to today's date, which it's not on today's date, is it? Is today Wednesday? Yeah, it is. So it'll do today's date. So we're going to use a past session as an example, because the current session obviously is not up yet, or the coming session. So over here on session, click there. The interesting thing is you can go all the way down to 2000. I'm going to move this thing over here. 2007 regular session. I mean, if anybody really wants to wade through the weeds a little bit, go back to 2007 and 8 and 9 and go look at some of the bills that passed. If you're ever wondering, I wonder when they passed that bill that does X, Y, or Z, go back through these sessions. But let's pick a session that's fairly recent so that we can do this a little more easily, and that is the 2021 regular session. Now, as you can see, there was also the 21-22 interim, which is what we're in right now, the interim. There's the first special session, which was the redistricting session. There's the second special session, which was the, I think, the rental assistance session. So let's go to the regular session. Now up here, it defaults to the first day of the session, Monday, January 11th, 2021. We're going back in time. If you are going to an old session like this, you can click this little button and see it says recorded content, and you can watch the Senate floor convene that day, or over here, the House floor convene that day. But since that was the first day and it's generally you just get sworn in and do some formalities and move on, that's not what we want to see right now. What you want to see first is, okay, where's that bill I've been hearing about? So we go to first readings. And it's probably going to take a little while because there's probably gazillions of them. Yes. So same thing over in the Senate, first readings. Well, I'm going to focus on the House because that's where I served. There's, on the first day of session, all of the bills that are going to be entered into the record. And you can see this list goes on and on. In a regular session, there's 3,000 to 5,000 bills. All the way on. So I won't bore you with all that. Just the point has been made. Let me pause for a minute to remind you what this means. First reading, so the Oregon Constitution requires bills be read into the record. Now, let me differentiate between being read and the reading of the bills, which is what Republicans did to slow the process down. Being read, as in the first reading, is literally the clerk is up at the front and the clerk says, House Bill 5001, an act to clarify that Thursdays are purple. That's read into the record. The second reading, which there'll be none here because they got to go through the process. The second reading is when the bill has gone to its committee. And that and the bill is actually voted on. All right, so I hope that makes sense. So this is where you would start. So when the 2022 short session starts, the first thing you want to do is go to session, and up here will be 2022 regular session. Click on the session, go to either the House or the Senate or both, go to first readings. If you want to, you could start wading through these bills. As you can see on my mouse, when you put your mouse on it, it gives you the quick explanation. Not enough, but at least it gives you an idea of what that bill is going to be about. And if you find one that just tickles your fancy and like, boy, I'd like to know more about it, well, then click on the bill and follow it, which we'll do in a little bit. So let me pause there for a second. Is that everybody okay with that? All right. So go to session and then go down to the readings on the first day. After the first day, then you can start looking up, because those bills that you saw, they will not be under bills up there where my mouse is until they've been first read into the record, assigned to a committee, and then they'll show up as bills up there. So that's why the next important thing you need to look at is the committees. So you click on committees, whether you want to go to the House or the Senate. Again, I'm going to go to the House because that's where I served. Here were the House committees in the 2021 legislature. Again, find one that you find of interest, or that just, you know, it's something that you think would be interesting to learn more about. Let's pick one. Again, I'm going to pick one that I served on because it's easier for me to talk about. Wildfire recovery. First of all, as I already showed you, all of the members will be listed right there with their links for their email addresses. Also, what's important is the LPRO analyst. That's the person that's important to email when you want to submit testimony, written testimony for a bill or during a hearing. It'll also tell you down here the dates and the times that that committee meets. Then over here on this side are the dates and times that that committee met or are scheduled to meet. If it has a little arrow like this one, see the first one doesn't have an arrow? That means, I'll click on it, they just had a hearing. In this case, it was an organizational meeting, some invited testimony. There were no bills. But when it has an arrow like this one, then there's a bill. So let's click on that first day that we had a hearing. We had a hearing about all these topics up here, but we only heard this one bill. Now there'll be public hearing, and then there'll be public hearing and or work session. Public hearing is just where we take testimony and we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk. Public testimony comes during that time, but when it says, let's go later in the session. When it says work session, now we find one that does. Here's a public hearing again. We'll find one that has a work session. There's one. Okay. Work session. That means the committee is going to vote on that bill. All right. So OLIS again, session, committees. And then if you finally just say, I really want to know what that bill's about, click on bills. You can type in by the bill number if you know it. You can even type in a little bit of text if you think you know what it might be about. You can go to the bill sponsors. Let me go back to this. You can go to all Senate bills. You can go to all House bills. I like to go by sponsor. And let's see what that rascal Bill Post was up to that year. You have chief sponsor, which is basically that's their baby, their bill. They wrote it. They created it. And then sponsor is co-sponsor. So Representative Bossart Davis, again, just to use a name, comes to me and says, well, I'd really like you to be a co-sponsor on my bill. That's what this is. But this is the big one, is your chief sponsors. So these are bills that I chief sponsored, and you can go through and look at all those. So let's take a pause. That's a quick version, but I think that we covered pretty much everything in OLIS.
It doesn't look like we have any questions.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is. I think you're answering everybody's questions, but we have a comment that this is really helpful. And thank you for taking the time to walk us through it.
Absolutely. I love doing this because it's amazing how few people understand how to get in and dig into this stuff. And it's really not that hard, as you can see. There's a lot of big words and a lot of talk using jargon that you may not quite understand. But you know what a bill is, and you know what a committee is, and you know what a legislator is. You can find it all here on OLIS. And it's really great to use during the session especially. And one last thing that I'll mention, again, if you're over here in one of these hearings, that little button right there. Now, of course, because this is a past session, they're all recorded content. That little button right there, or up here so here we chose April 5th, 2021, 5:30 p.m., the Wildfire Recovery Committee. This little button right here would be a camera icon. And that's when you want to watch it live. So if this committee were happening right now, you would click that and it would open up and you'd be there live with them. You can't talk to them, you can't chat with them, you can't do anything, but you can watch the hearing live. Now that's whether they do virtual or they're in the building. It doesn't matter. That's always there. You can always watch a committee hearing live and direct. Same thing with let me go back to the floor session, go back to a session and go back to the regular session. Again, remember this little button right here, instead of it saying recorded content, it'll have a little camera and you can watch the Oregon House or the Oregon Senate live. And they have cameras all over the place. You get all kinds of different angles. You get the person speaking at their desk. You get the speaker up front. You get everything. So anyway, I think that's everything, unless there's more questions.
Hey, Bill, it's Cindy. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
With campaign season upon us, is there an easy place here in OLIS to see past voting history for our House reps or senators?
Yeah, it's a little tedious, but I'll show you a way. You've got to at least know the bill. All right. So let's go to Let me think of a bill. Can anybody think of a bill off the top of their hand?
SB 3001.
And was it in last session?
I believe it was in the 2019 long session.
Okay, let's go there. You said 3001?
Uh-huh. SB 3001.
Okay. So you type in the bill like we said, hit go. Oh, there's an HB 3001.
Oh, maybe I have the bill number wrong or the session wrong, but we can use this one. It's
Okay,
fine.
well, here's what you do. So do what I just did. Go to bills, type in the number, hit enter or go, and here comes the bill. Here's the chief sponsor. Here's the committee it went to. And then here's where you want to go, measure history. Now, so I got my little camera or my little icons down here in the way. I'm going to move them over here. Okay, this bill is not going to be very helpful because it died in committee upon adjournment. So if you ever see that, by the way, that's a dead bill. The work session was held, nothing happened, it died. Let me see if I can find a bill. Well, you know what? Let's go to bill sponsors and let's go to Bill's bills. And we'll see if I can remember if I passed anything or not. And because, yeah, you're right. It'd be good to know how they voted. Let's see.
You got the cold medicine passed finally.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's big.
That's
That's
true.
huge. That's huge. I happen to have a cold right now, so it's very important to me.
That's right. Let's go. You know, I should remember the number. 2648. Yes. Okay. So again, so this is HB 2648. This is the Sudafed bill that David's referring to. That it took me 4 terms, whatever it was, to pass. And by the way, you notice that my name is in black. It's not a hyperlink anymore. That's because I don't exist anymore. But these are all my chief sponsors and my co-sponsors. And then again, here's what you do. Go down here. It was third read. Remember I said third reading is when they voted. Here's who voted nay, and here's who voted yay. And if you want to see the full version, you click this little plus sign. And red is no, and green is yes. And you can see that for some stupid reason, 4 representatives voted no on giving Sudafed to everybody. So go scream at them for a while. And then same thing, keep going down and go to the Senate. And over in the Senate, it passed 27-2. What are these 2 knuckleheads doing? Voting no. Anyway, that's how you do it, Cindy. Hope that helps. Look up the bill number. And then once you have opened up the bill here, you can see everything. You can even see the work session, how they voted in committee, how they voted on the House floor, how they voted on the Senate floor. And then what finally happened with the bill? It was passed, the speaker signed it, the president signed it, the governor signed it. It went into effect on this date.
Awesome. Perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
So yeah, if somebody wants to do a little research work, you can go through and find everybody and how they voted on some bills that you're interested in, for sure.
Why did Dallas Hurd vote no?
Dallas Hurd voted no on every single bill in the 2021 session.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Can we move on to the next topic, Cindy, David?
Yes,
Absolutely.
somebody asked, Jody asked when the next session starts in 2022. I think
It's the first Monday in February, whatever that
Yeah.
is.
I believe it is February 1st, in fact.
It is.
Yep. Okay, there we are.
All right. Are there any other questions?
And it runs for 35 days constitutionally, if I
Yes.
remember correctly.
Max it can run is 35 days.
Okay, that's it.
All right. Well, then the other thing that we wanted to talk about tonight was Orestar. How do I move this thing? I'm going to close that one. No, come on, close. I got this bar thing up here at the top. I can't see. Oh, there, I moved it. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to talk about Orestar. Oop. Sorry, technically challenged. Orestar is where we find out who's bringing in the money, how much, where it's from, and where they're spending their money. And usually I use myself as an example, but I no longer have a PAC. It's closed, it's gone, it's dead. And so I can't use mine. So I don't know who we want to pick on.
Restore Oregon Now.
Oh, okay, well, we can do it, but you probably want to see some candidates, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let me do something first. This isn't just campaign finance. This is also great for finding out this is where I go first thing every morning. I'm a nerd, but I do this every morning. Candidate filings, right over here on the left. You go candidate filings.
That's important these days.
Yep. Go to 2022 election, the May primary, and then you can choose the office or you can just hit all. But let's see who's filed. Let's see the jungle for governor. Let's see who's filed for governor as of right now. There are 26 people running for governor. Here's all their names. Here's their party. Here's when they filed. You can do some filtering, like you can filter by alphabetical, reverse alphabetical. You can do by party. You can do by filing date, which is what I do. I go click on it once, and that's the backwards, and then here's the most recent. So Reed Christensen, a Republican, filed on the 7th of this month. Okay, so I'm a dork. I go to candidate filings every morning to see what's going on. But if we want to talk about what people are doing with money, there's all the ones I've searched recently. So let's look at Stan Pulliam. Let's see. Okay, so you type in their last name. There's their PAC name. Here's down here are the key parts. Well, here's all their information about who they are, where they are, email, phone numbers, all that stuff. Here's their campaign finance activity. And so you can see this Mary Saylor gave $250. So expenses, you see it says contribution. And I'm trying to find an expense. In-kind contribution, that usually means, so contribution is cash, obviously. An in-kind contribution means they let you use something of value, or they gave you something of value. Perhaps in this case, Chuck Thompson allowed him to use a venue in his district, whatever. That's what in-kind means. It's a non-cash contribution. I'm trying to find an expense. There's an expenditure. Oh, the Venetian Resort. There you go. WinRed. WinRed, by the way, is the fundraising tool that almost all Republicans use now. So it costs them $1.25. So there you go. So I'm going to go back then to committee filers by name. Check candidate. Put in a last name here. Hit submit and go start searching away. If it's not a candidate and you said restore, right? There's other restores. Is it, what is it, David?
It's Stop the Abuse, Restore Oregon Now.
I'm going to just type that in because I think that'll do it. Nope, wasn't enough. No, apparently that's not working in the search.
Interesting.
Let me try Restore Oregon now.
Yeah. I've had that problem with Orestar occasionally.
There it is. So yeah, so as David's pointed out, you can search for candidates, but you can also search for PACs. So click on Restore Oregon Now. You'll see, is that the right one?
That's the right one.
Okay, let's see what you've been doing. Retained Mannix Law Firm for something. So none of my business, but anyway, there you go. Contributions and expenditures. So it's that simple. Any
Yeah.
further questions about Orestar?
And if you go over to the bottom right, you can do the account summary and see how much someone has raised in a campaign year. Or I guess it's a calendar year.
2022, $425. There was a beginning balance of 5103, so there's a current balance of 4148.
Right.
And you can go back to previous year and see how people did.
Right.
Keep going back as far as it'll go. But I think the most important things is, you know, committee filers by name and candidate filings for Orestar. For me, that's the best tool. Now, it's got a really long, let me move this thing down again. It has a really long URL, as you can see. I find if you just Google Orestar, it'll get you to this.
That's what I do.
But I have it bookmarked because I'm a geek. All right. Is there anything else that anybody'd like me to share or answer questions?
We don't have any open questions at the moment. If
All right,
anybody
so-
has any, let us know.
I know that old troublemaker Jeff Hyens raised his hand.
Yes, I did.
There's Jeff.
Just popped in after another meeting. Can you show us the federal side of this equation? To where to go to look at federal candidates' stops?
You know what? I cannot. I don't know. I mean, I've been there, but I
Okay.
just, it never affected, not affected. I've never run for federal office and I've never contributed to one, so I don't know.
Oh, somebody there says they know how. Was just thinking that, you know, not all the candidates here are Oregon, but if you're looking for a federal candidate like a CD person or whatever, there is a comparable tool on the federal side. So
Yeah, I've just never, I've been to it. I can't tell you where it is right now, to tell you the truth. Okay, should I unshare?
Yeah, you can go ahead and stop sharing if you would like.
All right.
Hey, Jeff Hyen, do you want me to share and you can walk us through it?
through what specifically?
Through the federal side.
Well, if I wouldn't know, I don't know either. I think I've been to it like
Oh.
Bill, but I'm just, you know.
David, you know how to do it, don't you?
I do not.
So
I
Ira
just know
Taher,
that- I just know that people use it to find out who contributed to Trump.
Right. There's a person in your
That would
group
be
who
me.
does know how to use it though. So
there's a
Okay,
person
let
in our
me,
chat.
here, I'll share my screen. All right, are you seeing my internet window here?
yeah, I see Google.
Okay,
FEC campaign finance.
here.
Type FEC.
FEC, www.fec.gov/data, I guess is.
Okay, so here's campaign finance data. All data, raising and spending. I've messed around in here a little bit.
You're not on the right tab that you're
Oh,
sharing.
yeah, we're seeing a
Oh, you're
blank
not seeing
tab.
it?
We're seeing Google.
Seeing what?
Google.
Yeah, we're seeing your Google
You're
tab
seeing a
there.
different Google. Okay,
New tab. We're seeing a new tab. The Google search bar.
very weird. Okay, let me stop sharing and try again. Sorry. I am going to just share this whole
And I wasn't
screen.
trying to cause you all kinds of trouble here. I just thought it may be relevant.
No, it is relevant for sure. So let me share this screen here. Now are you seeing it?
There you go.
Yes.
Okay. So you have your campaign finance data. I typically go to all data, and then down below you can search. So there's Alex Scarlato.
Woo, he's raising
Yep.
money.
So total contributions. This is January 1, 2021 to September 30th, 2021.
And that's the one thing that I don't like about the FEC site that I do like about Orestar is Orestar, the most it's ever gap is 30 days.
Yeah.
And then when we're in campaign season, just the last few weeks before each campaign, it's week, then 2 weeks, then a week, then it's 24-hour reporting. So you'll know what I brought in or spent in 24 hours. The FEC site is only by quarter, which I don't like because people can hide things for nearly 4 months.
Right. So this is January to March. He got busy real fast. So I know that, and then there is spent. Operating expenditures. So here's his operating expenses.
Hmm. Interesting. I often find it interesting who is contributing to a candidate, particularly in Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah, if I go to individualized contributions, it also doesn't allow us to sort here. No. It looks like it is already sorted alphabetically, but contributions. So that's just fec.gov.
Well, thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, you're welcome. I don't know much about it, but I do know a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know. I mean, we now have 6, or I should say 8 federal candidates in the state of Oregon now. So we picked up one. Not sure if that's a good thing or not.
Who did we pick up?
We picked up another congressional district. So.
Oh.
So, you know, just if I just take a smidge of liberty, David and Gary.
Sure.
Something came up today. I did post about it on my Facebook page and on Twitter, and I'd really like people here to think about this. And I don't know if everybody here is a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, an AV. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care about that. But if you are a Republican, as you saw a little while ago, there are 26 total candidates running for governor. I believe it's 12 Republicans now. Casey Kula, who is currently a Yamhill County commissioner, was running for governor as a Democrat. He switched this morning to Bureau of Labor and Industries commissioner, which is currently held by Val Hoyle. Val Hoyle is running for Congress in CD4. So it's an open seat. And, you know, I know Casey pretty well. He may not be my cup of tea politically, but he's a sharp young man. And I thought it was pretty sharp on his part to get into, to understand he was not going to win the Democrat primary. No way. And he thought he has a better chance of being the BOLI commissioner. And so he's doing that. Right now, as far as I know, there are no Republicans running for BOLI commissioner. It is a nonpartisan seat, and it says nonpartisan next to your filing. But if you don't think Val Hoyle's a Democrat, then, you know. Anyway, my appeal is to gubernatorial candidates that are watching this. If you really, you're convinced you have a shot to be governor of Oregon, go for it.
Yeah.
But if you really have any questions whatsoever, do you know how important BOLI commissioner is? I mean, ask any business person listening right now if they wouldn't like to have a Republican BOLI commissioner.
Well, it's a great springboard as well. You know, I mean, we have, I think it's more than 12, unless some have dropped out, Bill. But, you know, I think essentially, and we can just speak, you know, frankly here, if you haven't raised $250,000 by now, you're probably not going to emerge out of the Republican primary or the Democrat primary. You're just not. I mean, that's just as much as people hate it, it is the political reality. And yeah, I'd like to see people do that. I know we've had that happen in the past. I know Bruce Cuff, God rest his soul, he just recently died, did that in, I believe it was 2018. He withdrew because he knew he couldn't make it, and he threw his support behind another candidate. And I think it was very admirable and very honorable for him.
And then he, by the way, he ran for a House seat.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I again, thank you for allowing me to be candid. I don't understand people who wake up one morning and say, I'm going to be governor of Oregon.
Right.
I'm going to be
or
senator. I'm going to be congressperson.
Yeah.
Great. You know, God bless you. I love you, but you know, don't you think you got to start somewhere? And we have lots of seats we could win in the House, and we have lots of, holy cow, last night there was a recall election in Newburgh of 2 school board members, conservative school board members. It failed, thankfully.
Yes.
But what about school board? Have you thought about that? Where do you think you'll have more effect? Running a useless race for governor or running for school board and winning?
Yeah. I just recently had that conversation with a candidate who called me and asked me my advice about running for a House seat or running for a commissioner seat. And I said, well, you'll have much more success in a vote of 5 than you will a vote of 60. So, you know, become a commissioner, become a school board member, you know, a board of 8 or 10 or whatever it is, or 5 or 7 or 9, where you can really, really make a change for the good. And as I don't know if everybody knows it here, but I think it's become rather apparent, and everybody watching should know this, is school board races have become the absolute ground zero battleground for the very, very far left. I mean, I can't believe how nasty they have become.
And I understand the Oregon legislature, I have heard of 3 Democrats that are proposing a bill that would require school board candidates to learn the proper way to be a school board person.
Right. And also another bill that's being forwarded by probably the teachers union or maybe some other union to shield school administrators from actions by the school board, which you know, school board does not have a whole lot of power, but the administration works for the school board. If you got a bad administrator, you need to be able to replace that person.
Yeah. So all of these are valid. It really struck me today. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see the post where I put the story. The Willamette Week did the story. They broke the news about Casey Kula jumping to the BOLI commissioner. And I just immediately went, holy cow. Surely at least 1 or 2 of these Republican candidates will understand. Maybe they've raised $10,000, $15,000. That might be all you need to win a BOLI commissioner race. And to be the Bureau of Labor and Industries commissioner means the D's call it the labor commissioner. I call it the business and labor commissioner, because it's the industries commissioner. And it's been pro-labor for as long as I can remember. Radovakian, and Valhoa. So to get a Republican in there that understands business and what business needs, that's huge. And I think that would be far more important to win that than perhaps losing the Republican primary. Yeah,
I agree. That kind of gives some homework for some of our people. Go out and talk to some of your favorite candidates.
We have a question from Karen Clem. She says, is it appropriate for me to ask either of you, Bill or David, who you would vote for the governor if you had to vote today?
Well, I'll give you an easy answer. I work for, as I said at the beginning of the program, I'm a political consultant, and the company that I work for is running one of those governor races. And so it would not really be prudent on my part to say anything. So I'm staying out of that. Normally, I'd love to. I also believe we should wait until after the March deadline. And
Yeah,
see
exactly.
Who's still in and who's not in. And I mean, it's far too early. We're going to have
Yes.
from March 8th to May, whatever, 11th. So we're going to have plenty of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to point that out too. The filing deadline is March 8th, so don't make any decisions, don't make any endorsements. The way this year is going, we could end up with 10 more candidates.
Yeah, we have 15 right now running for Republicans on the governor. And Harry Sanger has asked, saying, couldn't shielding the administration from school board policies also allow individual administrators to just say no to COVID protocols?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, I suppose in theory it could, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it does usurp, you know, the local control, which is something that Restore Oregon now promotes at every opportunity. You know, government that is closest to you, government that is elected by you, your city councils, your school boards, and your county commissions, should be the government that is most responsive to you.
Yes.
And that's what we, you know, our Stand for Freedom project, which we have 25,000 signatures now. You can sign at restooreoregon.org/FFF_petition. See, I got that one memorized. We have 25,000 people there that agree with us that our local officials need to be looking out for us and not doing the bidding of the state. And I think through a number of avenues, we can reinforce that. I think one is passing home rule charters in the 30 or 25 counties that do not have home rule charters in the state of Oregon.
Yes.
Every city has a home rule charter, 241 cities in the state of Oregon. And so they have the ability to govern themselves. But they need to know that we're with them. I know that Bill, you know, having conversations with Bill over the years, he was elected in 2014. When a bill comes up, you have 25 people on the left coming to see you saying, hey, you know, pass this bill, and what, 4 or 5 on the right, you know, and that's what we need to do with our city councils and our county commissions and our school boards. Is we need to let them know that we're standing with them. That they can make these tough decisions, and we'll be there for them. Because typically, I've heard it from my own county commissioner, typically it's the left over here screaming at them, and they just don't get the input, you know, from the people they'd really like to hear from, the people that have the proper solution, you know, the conservative solution. And so when you have 25-5, it's hard to make that decision.
If that, I would say it's more like 25-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never heard from people on what I would call my side. You know, no, never heard from them.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's why they call us the silent majority, right? Jeff Hyan has a question. He's got his hand up.
Well, 2 questions. Well, 1 question and 1 follow-up here to what you guys are talking about. You're encouraging local control and everything, but you also need to be encouraging people to run for these different things. And I did a little thing in Marion County. We went out and we looked up every elected office that a person in Marion County could conceivably get to vote for. That goes from president on the way down to the dog catcher, county commissioners, city councils, all that. In Marion County alone, over 400 spots. Just think about that. Every city council, school board, water board, fire board, you know, college board, et cetera, right? So there is a ton of opportunity to get involved in that. And so many of those places have so much more authority on where your money gets spent than you ever realized.
Yep.
Ever. And my the question that I had that I was originally thinking of is there is a filing deadline as well, not only for the candidate stuff, but also when a person can change their voter registration to a different party if they want to vote in that primary. And when is that date?
April 26th.
April 26th. Okay. So
Jink.
you have till April 26th to be, if you want to change to be involved in a Republican primary, Democrat primary, whatever it is. So that's a date to remember as well.
Yeah.
And that's a great point. And you know what? I know there are probably people watching right now or listening that are non-affiliated voters right now, or independent small I. By the way, trust me, I've made, in my 4 campaigns, I made close to 75,000 individual phone calls in my district alone. And I would call people that their registration said capital I. And I would call them and I'd say, hey, David, did you know you're in the Independent Party of Oregon? No, I'm not. I'm an independent. No, you're in the Independent Party of Oregon. You have a capital I next to your name. No, I never registered for any party. Yeah, you did. You just thought you weren't. Anyway, to save confusion, the great thing is you can go on that Secretary of State's My Vote page and you can change your registration, do it by the April 26th date, change it to Republican or Democrat if you have to, but let's talk Republican, change it to Republican, vote in the primary. The day after the primary, change back to whatever you want to change to. Everybody gets to, that's something that I'm seeing a lot of misunderstanding. People think, well, because we have 12 or 15 candidates for governor, they're splitting the vote. No, you're not splitting the vote. You can have 100 Republican candidates for governor. It won't split the vote. It'll split the Republican vote, as in somebody's going to win with 9% of the vote, but I'm exaggerating, but it doesn't split the vote because the primary is the primary. The general is when we hope Betsy Johnson splits the vote and Republicans win. Because if it works the way I'm thinking it's going to work, moderate Democrats who are sick and tired of the far left of their party are going to love Betsy Johnson. And if Republicans just do their job and vote Republican, she's going to siphon that vote off and cause Tina Kotek to lose to our Republican candidate. Just my editorial.
That's an important thing for people to know. If you are registered NAV or is it UAV?
NAV.
I forget. NAV. If you are registered NAV and you don't have an I next to your name, which is an actual party, kind of a left-leaning party, if you're registered NAV, you will not have you won't have candidates on your ballot. You won't have many candidates on your ballot. The only candidates you'll have on your May ballot are nonpartisan races. Now, if you change to Republican or if you change to Democrat, wouldn't recommend that. But if you change to Republican, then you'll have Republican candidates that you can vote for in the primary. If you change back right after that, you still get all of the general candidates, all of them. You're not in any way limited as an NAV in the November election. You'll have your choice. You can vote for anybody you want.
Exactly right. And that's why I don't get scared when people, we talked about a lot of candidates for governor. Don't be scared by that. That's fine. I would prefer there be fewer, but that's fine. Everybody has a right to run. I would just say, don't, what David said earlier, I want to reemphasize, don't necessarily commit anybody right now specifically, other than the straw poll votes and things like that. Sure, do those. But don't endorse or back somebody just right now, because I'm going to tell you right now, you know how much stuff can happen between now and May primary. Yeah. Things will come out in the news. You'll find out something they did or didn't do, or somebody that there is so much. No way. I don't commit until about mid-April.
Yeah. Yeah, there are 10 lifetimes between now and the May primary, and absolute eternity between now and November. And everything changes. Well, Bill, I'd really like to thank you for coming on here. It's great information. And I can see that everybody that attended got a lot out of it. And I think we'll have some better educated, more involved, certainly activists and citizens who know what's going on. So I'll leave you with the final word, Bill.
Well, just know, as I said at the beginning, I'm a political consultant working. I live in Nevada, but I'm working in Oregon thanks to things like Zoom and Teams and big Google Meets and all that. And I'm working for some really good candidates, and we're going to win some House races, and we're going to win some Senate races, and I think we're going to win a governor's race this year. And I'm doing everything I can. So just because I'm living in Nevada, it means nothing. I love Oregon and I want to see Oregon get saved, but I happen to really like it down here. It's 52 and sunny today, and I don't have to pay income tax. So, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight to this and allowing me to talk to you. And I'm always happy to talk anytime.
All right. Thanks again, Bill. Thanks everyone else for spending an hour with us this evening. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with some more great information for you. So good night, everyone.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.